topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
This is Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. Do you want to live a more fulfilling life? Do you want to live your legacy and achieve your personal, professional, and financial goals? Well, coming up on Divya Parekh's Beyond Confidence, you will hear real stories of leaders, entrepreneurs, and achievers who have stepped into discomfort, shattered their status quo, and are living the life they want. You will learn how relationships are the key to achieving your aspirations and financial goals. Moving your career or business forward does not have to happen at the expense of your personal or family life, or vice versa. Learn more at www.divyaparekh.com, and you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. This is Beyond Confidence, and now here's your host, Divya Parekh.
Good morning, listeners. It is Tuesday, and I'm thrilled to be here with you. So thank you to each and every one of you who have got our books, especially the books right behind me, The Entrepreneur's Garden and Expert to Influencer, because the partial profits from the books go to kiva.org. And I want to share a story. One of you guys reached out. So Denny, thank you for sharing your story with us. So Denny shared that one of his friends recently had a baby. And as we make a call for you to share 1 hour of your time every month and helping your friends, family, or anyone for that matter, just giving somebody 1 hour of your time every month with no strings attached. And he got groceries for the young baby's parents, and they were thrilled with it because they got some time, especially with a new baby. They've been staying up whole night, so they really appreciated it. And Danny, thank you for sharing that story. That is so heartwarming, especially as we get into the holiday season. So let's invite our guests. Welcome, Kellie.
Hi, Divya. It's great to see you. Great to be here.
Oh, absolutely. Great to have you as well. So, Kellie, do you remember any moments from your childhood that stand out for you even today?
Yes, there are so many events of my childhood that kind of stand out for me that were based on intention, but also pointed me in the direction of entrepreneurship, which is where I am now. And I think for everyone, they have those moments. But for me, I can remember as a child just going to the grocery store and coming in contact with a celebrity. It was actually Patti LaBelle. And I always reflect on that because, I mean, you know what? That was a pivotal moment for me in understanding that I was destined to work with celebrities, which is a lot of what I do now. So, yes, amazing moment there.
So, did you know, like when you were, how old were you at that time?
I was about 7, 8 years old. Yes.
And
And I
you knew
didn't
back
know,
then?
I didn't know who she was, but I knew she looked amazing. And then of course, I was with my parents and they told me who it was. And I was like, oh wow. So I knew that the connection with her when she spoke to me, I knew that there was something there. I didn't know exactly what, but I knew it was very profound within me. So that's how I would describe it. Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful. And that's the beauty, right? Like, even if they're celebrities and if they bring that humility with them and speaking to a child nicely, left a mark on you.
Absolutely. And I met her years later.
Hmm.
Um, so it was coming full circle again. So yes, absolutely. Anyone that can speak to a child, because you know what, many times when people meet children, they tend to speak to the adults and they speak to the children by way of the adults. So instead of saying, hi, Johnny, or hi, Sally, they'll say, oh, your daughter is so lovely, or something like that. but she spoke directly to me. And I'm telling you, it was so influential. It made such a difference to me. Absolutely.
That's fantastic. So, and as you grew up, where did your interest take you?
So I went to undergrad college, and from there I worked at a very well-known insurance company in the finance department. It was a great company, but I was just found myself very bored. So when I would come home in the evenings, I would plan to have a magazine. I would just dream, and then I would work a little here and there on having a magazine. I was also in grad school at the time, and the company was paying for my grad degree. So there was a lot of activity during that time. And once I got my grad degree, I had been doing my magazine for a little while, but not consistently. But every event that they had locally, I would go to it. And that's the second time that I met Patti LaBelle. I went to an event. I contacted her office because I knew she would be there. And I said, is there any way possible I could interview her for my magazine? And lo and behold, not only did I get to interview her, but she actually called me. And so it was just an amazing experience. So from there, I just became very interested in interviewing people. So I did that for a while, but then I felt that I needed to, for some reason, be in corporate America. I don't know what I was thinking. So I started working for a very well-known pharmaceutical company doing branding. Um, I did that for a while, and then I moved to Atlanta. I came in contact with this amazing woman who used to be a former senator, and she moved me so much that I followed her to Atlanta. I didn't know her or anything. So I moved to Atlanta, and from there, I began to travel with her. I wrote speeches for her, did some of her books, all sorts of things. And that really exposed me to what it's like to live a high profile life. So instead of just meeting celebrities, I was then living the lifestyle.
Mhm.
From there, I always drew celebrities for some reason. I don't know. And then I always went to events also with the hopes of interviewing them. And usually I did. So when I moved to Atlanta, which there are a lot of celebrities there, I would meet them in different places. One day I was downtown Atlanta. I met Regina King. She was just walking down the street. You know, she's an Oscar winner. Um, and we had a brief conversation, but it was very profound. And that's when I started to say, you know what, there's a reason that I meet celebrities. It's not about just meeting them, but it's usually to have some type of profound conversation or to bring something into their lives that they don't ordinarily have, they don't ordinarily see. Um, what people don't realize about celebrities is that they are just like us, but their life is so much under a microscope that anytime they can connect with someone who is just down to earth and doesn't want to, just come along and say, oh, you're so amazing, you changed my life. But they want to have real conversations, maybe brief, but real interactions. They love that. And so I realized that I just had a greater purpose and I had to follow that. And that's what I've been doing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no, definitely very powerful. So you talked about that, you're working with a senator. Tell us, what was that like? Because it's, like so many different things. Politicians also have seasons, and sometimes they're on the rise, sometimes they're out. So how was that journey?
It was absolutely amazing. I think that she really helped me polish who I was as a professional because senators, they typically have this, and she was a British American. So she was actually a senator from Bermuda, which is like a British American country. So there was this air and this polished nature that she had. I mean, just an absolute amazing person to be around. Just because the way that she finessed conversations, and she wasn't extremely political. She was very, or what we tend to think of as political. She was very authentic, and she was interested in building her brand differently, away from being a senator. So that's where my skills came in, because I did have experience with branding. So it was great. I traveled to many countries with her, so I got to experience other cultures. I got to see how you just communicate with different cultures, and just view things totally different. It just changed my perspective. It really elevated my perspective, I would say.
What would you say were your top 3 lessons that you learned from that experience?
The top 2 lessons, I would say, just to really go after your dream, not to let anything or anyone stand in your way. So if you really believe in something, no matter what, and this is why I love what you're talking about, beyond confidence. I mean, it has so many meanings, but beyond confidence, first of all, you really have to have confidence in yourself, but then you have to be, especially as women, I believe we have to know within ourselves that where we want to go, there's a reason for that, and we cannot let other people deter us from that. And she was just a marvelous person when it came to getting her vision across. Because many times, if you can just get your vision across to people, that just clarifies so much, and removes all roadblocks. And a lot of times, we as entrepreneurs, that's something many of us have to work on. When you were on, when we met, your brand just stood out beyond most of the brands, because your brand is so concise, beyond confidence. It's so concise, it's so clear what you're about. And so that's one of the things, just clarity, confidence, and then going beyond that to intention, that type of thing. So I think that's the number one lesson that I learned from her. And just the number 2 lesson would just be, always be true to yourself. Don't ever deviate from who you really are, because there's a treasure. There are plenty of copies of all sorts of things out here, but there's a treasure in just you being uniquely you. So those are 2 great lessons I learned. Yes.
So tell us, as you moved into working with her, started meeting the celebrities, how did you transition into working with them?
Sure. So even before I moved to Atlanta, with the magazine, I did interview Robin Roberts, and people from her staff that were there were interested in talking to me further. At that time, I was out of grad school. I'm just out of grad school, and I just formed a connection there. And she needed some branding and tweaking done, so I helped with that. There was also this is a really good story. There was also a well-known singer at the time. Her name was Natalie Cole. I interviewed her, and the interesting thing was, I mean, she talked about confidence, that she was my cover for the magazine for that month. And right after she left, she became sick, and she was very sick in the hospital. And then that's when I realized my purpose from leaving her was actually not to do any work for her, but just to send good energy, prayers, and so forth for her to recover, because, and she did. So that's when I realized that. After I moved to Atlanta, I actually went to a model call. I'm not a model by any means. I went to this model call because there was a TV star that had they were bringing out a clothing line. So they had a model call. Everyone there, all the women were like 6 feet and gorgeous. And here I am, 5'7", And so there was a line wrapped around the building. I waited for maybe 4 hours outside. It was cold. And when I finally got inside, they had us walk the line turn around at the desk. They were all seated at the front, this particular celebrity included. When you had to walk down, turn around, and go back. That's all they wanted you to do. So I actually walked down. I put my resume on the desk and I said, I'm not your next model, but I am your next branding consultant. And I turned around and I walked away. I didn't hear anything right away. That might have been
Very innovative, definitely.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
how do you get in touch with a celebrity? What a way.
So maybe about 2 years later, so maybe 3 years later, the pandemic hit. I wasn't working for the former senator anymore because we were all just out of work. And do you know, she called me out of the blue, the person that I modeled for that day. She called me out of the blue, or one of her representatives called me and stated that she wanted to talk to me and do an interview and wanted to bring me on to help her build her brand. So I came on, build her brand. To start building her brand, I helped start a lounge. She wanted to do a lounge restaurant. I helped build it from scratch. And in the midst of it, Divya, her husband passed. It was so tragic. And so that's when I realized, oh, so I am here not only to help her build this vision that she had for so long. She'd even mentioned on her show that she wanted this restaurant. So this was something that was really in her heart. And so it was my privilege to help her build that. But would you know, shortly after it opened, her husband passed. And so that's when I realized, oh, my reason for being here is to really help her through the grieving process and help her get to the other side of it. So it was truly, I mean, it was truly one of the best experiences of my life, just because not only was I helping to build a brand, which is what I do, but there was the other reason behind it. There was a reason beyond. And so I I love what I do. That's all I can tell you. I just love it.
Well, that's awesome. So let me ask you this: like, are you at liberty to share the celebrities' names?
Sure. So that particular celebrity is Nene Leakes. She's a former housewife for the Real Housewives of Atlanta. And her
Mm.
husband passed. His name is Greg Leakes. He was an amazing man. So all that time, I had a great amount of time to spend with both of them. So just even the timing of it all, because when I came into it, I got to know him very well. And so in helping her through the grieving process, that was key, because how can you help someone that you really truly don't know that well? Um, so yeah, it was just amazing. And then to see her vision come to fruition regarding the lounge and the restaurant lounge, it was absolutely amazing. Yes,
Absolutely. So sounds like you've worked with many celebrities. Give
yes.
us the names of, I'm sure all of them were favorites, but pick a couple and share, what were the lessons you learned? Because you did say that, what you learned by working from your celebrity clients. So let's have a couple of stories.
Sure. So, oh my gosh, there've been many over the years. Some that I've met but didn't work with, and some that I've worked with. But I would say, all in all, I mean, Kerry Washington, Nene Leakes, Patti LaBelle. Oh my gosh, if you hadn't asked me, I would be able to tell you. But there have been many through the years, and a lot of people do ask me, how in the world did you do that? And realizing that the idea of contacting a celebrity to endorse your product or your brand can be intimidating, but it's definitely not impossible. And so yeah, so that's what I've been doing, I would say, for the last I mean, I've always done it, but I think in the last like 5 years is when I've really realized that that was my calling. Because celebrities need services and products too. So why shouldn't they use yours? So
Absolutely. So And you brought up a really good point that entrepreneurs are scared of reaching out to celebrities for endorsements. And so tell us, for our entrepreneur listeners, as to what could they do so that they could gain celebrity clients' attention and possibly have them endorse their product or even themselves.
Sure, absolutely. So, one thing I would say is to be very intentional about the celebrity that you want to connect with. I mean, many people just say, "Oh, I would love to connect with Oprah because she's one of my favorite people. She's inspired me so much." Or, I want to meet one of the sharks from Shark Tank, or, I want to meet Kim Kardashian. The first thing to do is to be clear on what celebrity you want to connect to and why, other than just being interested in them as a personality, or how they could help your brand. How specifically do you envision them helping your brand? You have to be very specific about that. Um, the other thing I would say is to whatever your product or service is, celebrities really like customization, they like convenience, and they like privacy. So offer some level of customization. Make it convenient for them to contact you. And then as far as privacy, they've already been exposed in so many places. So they really want to know that when they work with you, there's gonna be some level of discretion. So always keep that in mind. And of course, be willing to make them a great deal. Everyone likes a great deal. And then thirdly, I would say have a higher mission. Have a genuine concern for the celebrity and their mission. That is so critical. It's not only about what they can do for your brand, but what you can do for them as well. Most people go into it thinking that, what the celebrity can do for their brand, but the best way is to set the intention of providing value for that particular celebrity. Um,
Mhm.
and then fourth, I would say start small. Like if you've never interacted with a celebrity, you want to, start with small things. Like, so if you find out that a particular celebrity, it may not be, um, it could be a local celebrity, um, but if you find out they're in your area, or they're doing a book signing, for instance, go to the book signing, buy a book, and then practice being intentional. Practice keeping your statement short and to the point. So when it's your turn, you don't want to say, "Oh my God," you don't want to fan out. You don't want to say, "Oh my God, it's so great to meet you. You changed my life." They hear that all the time. So I would say just be very short, very clear, and very calm in your approach. You can show some excitement, but just say, "Hi, I'm Kelly. I started a vegan restaurant a year ago, and you were such an inspiration in the process. So thank you for writing this book." Or you can even mention something in the book that helped you or something like that. And then just stop talking. They may reply, they may start a conversation, or they may not. But either way, when you leave the table, know that you did a great job just stepping up in that moment. So I would say just practice in that way. And then, you may meet that if that's a celebrity you've always wanted to work with, don't be disappointed if it doesn't happen at that first meeting. Just know that you've set the intention, you've put something out in the atmosphere, and you have set yourself up for success later down the road. And then the fifth thing I would say is Instagram, social media is something I never had. Initially when I was connecting with celebrities, but that is a great place to meet celebrities and talk about your product or service with them. But you don't want to bombard them. You just want to, on their posts, you want to, post occasionally, but don't just post. You want to post something thoughtful. And then they may one day just post something and say, "Oh, I'm looking for someone who knows someone who does shelves, or if you do shelves, please DM me. I'm looking for someone." that has happened to me before. There was a particular celebrity that I wanted to connect with, and that was actually one of their posts. And so I DM'd the person and I said, yeah, I know someone who does great shelving. And so they sent me their email. I sent them an email and stated who the person was, their contact information. And then I made sure that I called the person, the vendor, and let them know that the celebrity would be calling. So that was a seed sown, if you will. So you can do things like that, but I would say don't bombard them. Don't just go into their DMs all the time and just bombard them and talk about how you're the greatest fan and all of that kind of thing. Just post thought-provoking posts or just simple posts, just letting them know that you're there. And put something on the end of your post, like something that will make your post stand out, some hearts or stars or whatever. And just be consistent with that while you're also in your private time setting the intention to connect with them. And eventually you will definitely connect with them. So now what I do, I actually help people set their intentions. I help them strategize so that once you meet the person, you can hit the ground running. And,
That definitely makes sense.
yeah.
And so you said, like, a couple of things that really stood out for me. One was like, leading with value. And you gave one of the very beautiful examples that you connected the celebrity with a vendor. So you are doing something for them. What other examples might you have where people can lead with value and do something for them? Because, so many times people are in so much of awe that, gosh, they have everything. What can I do for them? So what can be some of the starters that can make people start thinking?
Well, I think some of that comes into how much you know about the person, how much you want to research the person and find out what they're currently doing, what they're up to. Have they started a nonprofit? Are they opening a store? Did they just get married? Did they just have a child? Things of that nature are key. Are they on a new show? Did they just start a new show? Those are key things. So you want to know your person. That's the first thing. And then secondly, you just want to add value in a way that makes sense. So what else? It could be something where they might be looking for a social media manager. If you are a social media manager and you offer those services, then and you know of an email, you send an email with links to sites that you've done, examples of posts that you've done. Keep the email clear and concise, but you also want to post on their social media, hi, I have someone, it's me, or I'm your next social media person, something that strikes them, something that because they get millions, they have millions of followers. So you have to just do something that makes you stand out. I remember I met Oprah one time at one of her events, and the guy in front of me, he was so clever. He looked very ordinary, but I knew he wanted to stand out. So he had a sock company. He went and made a pair of socks that said The Life You Want Tour and had a photo of Oprah. So because the line was going very quick, she didn't have time to just sit there and talk. So when he got to her, he pulled up his pant leg and he showed her his socks. And she and Gail just went wild. So it could be something like that. It could be if you go to an event, something like The Life You Want or something of that nature, and you are, let's say you're a colorful person just in everyday life, you could wear something that's extraordinarily colorful so that even if you're at the back of the line, when they happen to look up and they see you, they're wondering like, who is that person? It could be something as simple as that, anything to make you stand out. And then when you get to the person, You could have something kind of cute to say about your outfit, or a reason as to why you wore the outfit. It just has to be really short and concise and make sense. And many times you can start a conversation with them, or you can connect with them later on, using that method. But it has to be, this is key too, it has to be authentic to you. So if you're not the type of person to go around and wear blue hair, then and you know that will make you uncomfortable, don't do that. But do something that makes sense for you in terms of standing out.
You also talk about pivoting. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So everyone has a moment in their life where they have to pivot and um, change due to, we all have experienced the biggest pivot, obviously COVID. And everyone has those moments where they have to pivot and change their course in some type of way. Like I said, when I was working for the former senator and COVID came around, I had to find something else to do. And so I actually started doing social media graphics for people because it was something I could do. I had a skill to do it, but I never really done it just because I was always occupied with branding, other aspects of branding. But I started to do it because why? So many people, everyone had to go online and everybody needed content for online. So you just really have to be willing to pivot, but in a way that makes sense. I think sometimes, especially we as women, we can overtax our systems in pivoting. And so I have this thing where I say, watch out, because resilience can kill you. Sometimes we become overly resilient. We can come to the point where we're just using pivoting because we are basically, when you use resilience, you use it in two ways. One is to deal with your current circumstance, and the other is to move forward. And so using them both in that way really taxes our systems, and we don't really realize how much stress it puts on us. And so we really just want to have a way that we can move forward in life with a vision, with a plan, and not put so much stress on ourselves in the process. And that's what I do, and I talk about in my book, Pivot and Thrive. But that is also how I help people as well.
And that ties in perfectly with all the examples that you gave, that be authentic. If that's not something that you are, then you don't make that pivot that, oh, I need to connect with celebrity people, then I'm going to pivot in that direction, which is not aligned with your values. So that pivoting also needs to come from a place of alignment with who you are, being authentic, being in integrity. So some great examples, and you said that your book is going to be coming out, so congratulations on that.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. Yes.
And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just want to encourage people, if they really want to connect with a celebrity, it's not as hard as it may seem. It sometimes seems daunting, but I would say the most important thing is just to have confidence and to be intentional. Those are the two most important things you can do, for sure.
Absolutely. Now, there are some celebrities where people are charging money. So before people become intentional and go with confidence and start connecting with them, do you know if there are any ways where people can find out if some celebrities only work, if they're paid or not?
Oh, you mean whether a celebrity is willing
Will
to
not
pay?
even work, like, if they're not paid, because especially like, as you were talking about Oprah, I mean, of course, Oprah doesn't charge. What I'm saying is that there are a lot of athletes who charge for advertisement and all that. So some of our listeners may be thinking that, how do I find out whether they're going to charge or not, or that they just take the chance And because the worst come to worst is it's just a no.
Right. Exactly. So, yeah, there are some celebrities who would endorse your project or your product for a fee. That is sometimes that is the case. And I guess for me, I never went that route. But if you have something you just want to do a quick in and out, you don't really want to establish a connection per se, but you just really want to get your product and service in the right person's hands so that it can be shown. Um, that's a great idea. There's nothing wrong with that. However, if you want to actually build a relationship with the person and you don't necessarily want to pay per se, sometimes you just have to pay to play. But if you don't want to do that, then I would say that's doable as well. You just have to have a strategy to go along with that. And that's what I help with. So you have to have a strategy that, again, makes sense for you and your brand, but also for that celebrity. And that's where actually knowing the celebrity, knowing what they're doing, knowing what their needs are, that's where that comes into play big time. Yeah.
Absolutely. So what you suggested was to the point, because I believe in relationships. When you connect with the person, when you lead with value, there's nothing like it. And I gotta share, one of my books that's sitting in the back, like, Brian Tracy was my hero since I was growing up, reading his books, his audio cassettes, and then CDs. And sometimes you pay to play, like, just to kind of, because some of them are not available. So sometimes, as you mentioned, pay to play just to be in those celebrities' circle. And from there also, you just cannot go up to anyone and say, like, yep, here's my book, or here's something, can you write an endorsement? It's about building the relationship,
Yes.
putting the seed. And if it takes, great. If not, you have been in their sphere and learned from them. So going back to my story, it was down quite a few years, and I was in his mastermind and just kind of in his Facebook group, and going in with confidence that and
Yes.
with humility. So I just kind of reached out to his admin executive assistant and said, like, I know probably, Brian is approached by thousands of people, and I am just kind of reaching out to see if Brian would be open to just reading through my book, perusing, and see if it would be worth his endorsement. So I just didn't presume that Brian would go ahead and give it to me. So it's going with that humility. And to my surprise, I did get an endorsement. And I cannot tell you, even to this day, it just fills me with such joy that, wow. So having that humility also goes a long way, and understanding that, making it easy and convenient for them to support you, as you have shared.
Absolutely.
So, Kellie, tell our listeners where they can connect with you and how they can come to you. How do you help them? So that'll be great.
Sure, absolutely. So you can reach me on social media, specifically Instagram or Twitter, at Kellie Umstead, and that's Kellie Umstead. Um, Feel free to interact with me there. If you'd like to talk more, you can also DM me there on both of those. Also, I have a web address, which is kellyumstead.com. And feel free to go there. I have a lot of great information, resources, specifically on pivoting and thriving. But if you need help with creating a strategy to reach that particular celebrity that you want, I'm certainly able and willing to help you with that. So yeah, just find me. I'm always on social media. So that honestly, that's the best way to find me.
Do you have any last nuggets for our listeners?
Yeah, like I said, I just know that every celebrity needs someone like you to help them along their way. We all need each other. So why shouldn't it be you? So I would say just continue moving forward in confidence, continue being authentic and true to yourself, set the intention, have the strategy, and you will definitely get that celebrity client. Um, I think one of the most beautiful things in the world is just helping other people, because that's why we get into entrepreneurship, is to make money, obviously. But the beautiful thing about an entrepreneur is that we have taken the time to really hone in on our skills, to build a brand so that we can reach people and so that we can be our most authentic self all of the time. So if you don't reach out to a celebrity, it's kind of like you're depriving them of your greatness, of your God-given talents and greatness to help them. And many times it's not only your product or service that they need. It may be a kind word. It may be just to know that there's someone like you in the world. So I would say just to continue moving forward, continue to go beyond confidence and just continue to live the life of your dreams and just help everyone you can to do the same.
Mm-hmm. No, that's powerful. Thank you for joining us, Kellie. And
Thank you, Divya, for having me.
absolutely. And thank you, listeners, because without you, the show would not be possible. Reach out to us with your stories. As I have mentioned, give that 1 hour of your time to someone with no strings attached and share your story. And of course, let us know if we can use your name or not. And we would be happy to share that story out with others and inspire other people. And thank you, Juan, for making this show possible. Technically, folks, because without technical support, I gotta tell you, not much can happen. So thank you, Juan. And until next time, be well and take care.
Thank you for being part of Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. We hope you have learned more about how to start living the life you want. Each week on Beyond Confidence, you hear stories of real people who have experienced growth by overcoming their fears and building meaningful relationships. During Beyond Confidence, Divya Parekh shares what happened to her when she stepped out of her comfort zone to work directly with people across the globe. She not only coaches people how to form heart connections, but also transform relationships to mutually beneficial partnerships as they strive to live the life they want. If you are ready to live the life you want and leverage your strengths, learn more at www.divyaparekh.com. And you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. We look forward to you joining us next week.